The idea behind parallel prefix sum algorithm is very similar to what we have been doing while implementing parallel version of algorithms. We find the optimal amount of thread count to execute and then divide the input data to a set of blocks and perform the std partial sum operation on each block in different threads. That is the basic idea. Even though this algorithm follows the similar approach, it is not that simple. As we saw in the previous video, to calculate output value of ith element, we need the sum of all the elements before that element as well. So if we divide the data into blocks, there's going to be dependency between blocks for this reason. Let me demonstrate this to you. Let's say we have an input array like this. And let's say we divide it into two blocks. Now if we perform a scan operation on each of these blocks separately in different threads, the outcome from each thread would look like this. Notice the output from the second thread. Even though the calculated values are correct, considering the second block, we have to add the summation of first block's elements to each value in the second block to get the final output. Notice that the addition of all the values in the first block is equal to the value of the last element after we perform the scan algorithm on the first block. So if we can transfer that value, that element value to thread, then we can add that value to each element in the output from the second thread and we can get the correct results. Okay, let's see what happens if we divide the input into 4 blocks. In this case, 4 threads will call partial sum on each block. Then we have to take final elements of the first block and add it to the second block. Then the updated final element value of the second block to the third block. Finally, we can add the updated final element value of the third block to the elements in the fourth block. Notice third block has to wait until final value of second block's last element to update. Therefore, when implementing, we can simply update the final element in each block first and then update the rest of the element in that particular block. So how can we achieve something like this? Well, using futures and promises, we can achieve this. Each thread is going to have a promise. The thread which processes the next block will have the future half. For example, in our diagram, if thread 1 has the promise, thread 2 is going to have the future associated with that thread 1's promise. Thread 3 is going to have the future associated with the thread 2's promise, and so on. Let me demonstrate this aspect as well. So as you can see here, thread 2 is waiting until F1 future get ready. This will be ready when the thread 1 set the promise half after it finished the calculation of final element. So when T1 thread set the value of the last element of the block to P1, then thread 2 can get that value using future half added to all the elements in the second block. Thread 3 is waiting until F2 and thread 2 will set the last element value of it after update using values of the F1 future. So when thread 2 set the promise value to the calculated value of the last element for second block, thread 3 can retrieve the value from F2 future and add that value to all the elements in the third block, and so on. Notice there's no need for thread 1 to have future since it processed the first block, and also there's no need for final thread to have promise since it processed the final block. Keep in mind these facts as well, since we are going to add some logic to handle these boundary conditions in the implementation. Okay, now we know the basic steps we have to perform in this approach. So let's jump into implement this. Let's name our function as parallel partial sum, which take first and last iterators. Then first we need to calculate the optimum number of threads to run and block size as usual. Let me copy that code segment from one of the previous implementations. Okay, now we know the optimum thread count and block size. Next, we need to have vector of threads, vector of promise, and vector of futures here. As you know, we need the type of the value we are going to store in the future and promise to declare those vectors. So let me have the iterator's type as type definition in top of this function. Now let's declare our threads vector first. Note, we are going to run one in this thread. So we need number of thread minus 1 amount in this vector, and then let's declare promise vector and finally a future vector. We can reserve the space for futures to avoid the reallocation while spawning threads, because we know how many threads we are going to use here. So let me reserve the memory for futures as well. Then we need the usual workload and loop here. So let me declare block start iterator here as usual, and then in the for loop, then let me declare block last iterator and set it to block start and advance it to block size minus 1 amount. Notice we need the last iterator for block, not the one pass last. So that's the reason for block size minus 1 here rather than usual block size. Then let's set the block start and last and increment it by 1 to get the next block. In between these lines, we have to launch the threads. So here I'm going to give a structure with function call operator to launch these threads. So let me declare that structure first. Let's name the structure as process chunk and it has function call operator. Here we have to give a start and last iterators as arguments. Also reference to future and promise as well. To implement this function call operator at the end, but for now let's move on to the thread launching loop. So when launching, we give the process chunk as function to execute. So we need to provide block start iterator, block end iterator, then future object. If you remember in our explanation, we had the future starting from the second thread. There's no need for first thread to have the future. So we can check whether the current loop index is 0 or not. If it is 0, we can simply set 0 as the future. So the first thread will not be having a future. On process chunk side, we will have the logic to handle this as well. Then we can pass the promise object. At the end, we can store the future associated with the promise in the vector we declared before. Then we have to call process chunk for last block from this thread. For that, let's have an iterator and advance it to 1 before the last element and call the function with parameters. Note here, if the thread count is 0, there's no need to pass futures to the last block since it is the only block. So let's have that logic and pass the future. And also, if you remember the explanation, there's no need for final block to have a promise hop. So let's set that to 0 as well. Okay. Let's now move on to process chunk structures function call operator implementation. If an exception happened during the execution, we need to propagate that exception to calling thread via promise. So let's have try catch block here first. Keep in mind that thread that process the final block will not have a promise. So we have to check whether the promise is available before setting the exception. If this is the final data chunk, we know it has been processed in the main thread itself, so we can simply throw here in that case. Now to the main logic. We have to first call the partial sum for this block. But if you remember, when launching the threads, we pass the last iterator as 1 before the last element. So first we have to increment it here via temporary. And then let's call the partial sum for this block. Now this thread has to wait until the future is ready. But keep in mind, if this is the first thread, there's no need future for that thread. So we have to check if the future is available. If not, we can simply set the promise to the end value of this block. If the future is available, then we have to wait until that future is ready. When it is set using the promise half, we can get the value of the future and add it to all the elements in the block. But if we iterate one element by one from the beginning, it will be a waste of time since we can just add the value to the last element and set the promise ready so the rest of the threads can proceed as well. So let's do that here. So let's increment the final element value of this block, and if this is not the final block, we can set the value of the final element to the promise. Then we can add the value taken from the future to rest of the elements using for each loop and lambda expression in this way. Okay, this is our implementation. Now let's use this implementation from application side and compare the execution time with sequential implementation as well. So in the main function, I am going to call inclusive scan, parallel inclusive scan available in C++ 17 standards using PAR as execution policy, and the implementation we just did and measure the time taken by each of the implementations. Let's set the test data size to 1000 elements first. Okay, when the data size is 1000, sequential implementation is outperform both the parallel implementations. This is not a surprise as we've seen this behavior before as well. Now let's set the dataset size to 1 million elements and run this example again. Okay, in this case you can see both our parallel implementations are outperforming the sequential implementation from a substantial margin.